Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday to you. Happy Sunday. Welcome. Come on in. I am coming to you live on day 4 of our Activate Your Voice Go Live Challenge. Later than I like to be. However, I want to keep my commitment. I am activated, locked in, and sharing my story and my 5 rules or laws of activating your voice and humanizing your brand. Thank you all. Y'all have been consistent and rocking with me for the last 4 nights. I'm going to give you a second to jump in and join me here. I want to ensure that I get you the information for night 4. If you have missed the previous nights, hey Danielle, thank you for jumping on. I'm so glad you joined me. Gonna give folks a moment here. I wanted to jump on and make sure I share the Go Live challenge. If you all are telling your story using Instagram, Facebook, any of those mediums right now while we're social distancing, give me some comments or some hearts. I want to hear from you on how this is going. I've had several people direct message me or reach out to me and say, man, this is harder than I thought. A lot of people are overthinking just pressing that live button and telling their story. And so I started this challenge, one, to keep myself consistent. I have to admit it is a challenging thing to do every single day. And really at the end of this, my goal is to get you just to at least do it once. Many of you I've seen are amazing professionals, entrepreneurs, speakers, ministers. Just you have such a platform of influence, but a lot of people are afraid to go live. And right now, with social media being our great connector, I want to ensure that we don't take for granted the opportunity to use this space. Now, if you've missed any of the previous nights, I'll give you a quick recap here. Everything I'm giving you is 5 nights, so we're at the tail end. we're at the end of this course here. We have one more night, which tomorrow we will end with my 5th one. And so I want to share with you just really quickly. This is all coming from 5 ways to activate your sales and humanize your brand. Now, I know you're thinking, well, wait, I may not be in sales. I don't know. Well, the truth is, telling your story is a part of selling others on believing in your vision, in your dream. It doesn't really matter what product or service that you render. What matters is that people hear the why. If you joined in previous nights, especially last night, I talked about prioritizing, getting things in order and clearing your day so that you can continue to tell your story effectively. And at the beginning, I talked about vocalize. The first thing we have to do is start using our mouths and telling our story. And then once we're able to really write out our story and tell our story, everything else we do, our branding, our messaging, the captions in our posts, the still images, it all tells a story. So again, at the very end of this is kind of like a countdown, the 5 days to the launch officially of this ebook. I literally held on to it for a year, and it's perfect for a time such as this. So thank you for joining me. I see several of you have jumped on. Say hello. Danielle says, my story may be in the past, but can change. So, oh, that's powerful. I'm going to say that again. My story may be in the past, but it can change someone's future. That is so powerful. That, and it's true that the things we live, Danielle, I like to tell people, if I lived it, I can tell it, which means although it's a part of my past, for someone else it could be their present, and they're needing to hear your story as an answer. They need to hear your story to get some hope or to draw some strength from you. So your story, if you've been listening the last few nights, I shared that your story actually does not belong to you. Hey, Alana, thanks for jumping on. Always happy to see you. Listen, I was just recapping here. Night one, I shared the first rule of activating your voice is to vocalize, and the challenge for night one was to write it down just in your journal on a piece of paper, 2 to 3 paragraphs. What is your activation story? If you know anything about the activation hour, what we stand for or what it symbolizes, everyone has an activation. I don't care who you are. You don't have to necessarily be a business owner, entrepreneur, author, any of those things. If you are human and walking this earth, you have a story. And the thing is, if you follow me, I've been putting some messages out there and really planting some seeds and some nuggets to tell your story. The other day I said, and I put it out there because it pressed on me, that if you don't tell your story, someone else will. And if you believe me, type that. If you don't tell it, someone else will. And now's the opportunity for you to really get it out on paper and begin to vocalize it, because someone else needs to hear it. And if you don't tell it now, one of the things I say is, I don't need someone else telling my story for me. I don't need them telling their version of my story, because I lived it. And so that gives you control or ownership of your messaging. Okay. The other thing, again, if you missed the previous nights, my YouTube channel, I'll drop my YouTube channel there in the comments. But on my YouTube channel, you can catch all of the previous videos. They're right under the Activate Your Voice Challenge. You see it right here. There you go. You're just going to click on Activate Your Voice Challenge. It's at the top as a featured video on my YouTube channel. You can subscribe and turn on notifications. It's also the place where I post all of my webinars and training. Awesome. So glad to see you guys rocking with me tonight. Hey, Minister Katrina, thank you so much for posting that for me. If you don't tell your story, someone else will. And one thing I've learned is that a voice will always be heard no matter what. A voice will always cry out. They'll always listen. Something about your story, it has its own way of manifesting itself and making its way out. And I've learned that being set free and telling it, actually, not only is it healing for you, it is a release. It is literally a release and a weight that's lifted, so you're free to move on into your future. Awesome. Danielle said your voice matters and nobody can tell your story like you. That is the essence, Danielle, of why I'm passionate about people activating their voices and telling their story. So listen, I'm ready to get to night 4. Guys, this is monumental for me personally, because this is a story I've been sitting on for some time. And remember what I said earlier, this is an ebook. Honestly, I wrote this, I began writing this over a year ago. And when I wrote it over a year ago, I was in a place where I honestly thought that this book was going to be released in a more business type of way. But then I understood it doesn't really matter if excuse me, you're in the marketplace, if you're in your workplace, or even if you're just walking in your purpose or trying to find your way to your purpose. The story is the key to get there. Stories are the keys to unlocking your purpose. Stories also have themes. Stories have themes, and as you get into, go back and write. That's why writing and journaling is so important. I journal at least twice a day. It's cathartic for me. It's healing for me. First thing in the morning when I get up, I write. I have my journals. A matter of fact, y'all, I got 2 of them sitting here. Favorites. I love really pretty journals. Just whatever, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. I think I buy them just because I like them and I don't need them. Bought another one today. Lord, I'm filling them up. But it's important. I call them morning pages and night pages. When you begin to write your story, you'll find that there's way more in you than you think there is. There's way more in you than you think there is. And so journaling is a part of my systems. So tonight, night 4 is about systems and consistency. Systems and consistency will actually help you perfect telling your story. I know you're like, wait a minute. So do I need to have a process and write this all out, you don't have to get started. Now remember, this is night 4. There were 3 other steps that came before this. But at this point, when you've written out your activation story, meaning what are the points in your life that were transitional and life altering? What were the activation moments? There's something that happened that shook you to your core and you knew you would never be the same. And when you realize what that thing was, there are others who are going through that, who need to know how you got to the other side of your activation. They need to know, well, how did you make it through that divorce? How did you make it through that foreclosure? How did you make it through that bankruptcy? What inspired you to start your business? What inspired you to be passionate about finances? Something happened in your life. You didn't just wake up one day and say, hey, I think I'll teach people financial wellness and financial literacy. You didn't just wake up one day and decide, hey, I think I'm just going to write this book. So begin to write it down. Systems. Now I want to talk about, there are some technical systems. I've been telling my story. I've been working at it, at my craft of storytelling. I'm a speaker. And stories are how we get our message out on the stage. The internet is my stage right now. So some of you may think, well, you know what? I'm not really a speaker. And here's the truth about it. Yes, you are. Everyone, if you have a mouth and a voice and God has gifted you with something to say, you are a speaker. And a speaker is nothing more than someone who has the craft and the art of audibly telling a message in teaching, and teaching a story or a methodology. And teaching is often done through stories. Speaking is done through stories. And so I put systems in place to perfect the craft of me telling my story. Some of those systems, and I'll type them in the chat here for you. One of them I'm using right now. I'm using Facebook Live, but I actually use a streaming service, and this is being pushed out to multiple places. See, just because you have one voice doesn't mean it's going to hit one place. So I'm using a system called Ecamm. Ecamm, I'll drop in my links for you. If you go to YouTube and catch the replay, I'm going to actually put links to some of these tools that I use to perfect my storytelling, to perfect my business and the messaging that I put out there. Ecamm is literally, and I'll take a picture so you see what it looks like on my end. It is literally I set it up in 5 minutes, and it's like my own virtual production system, because I wanted to bring my story out in a professional way, a polished way. And listen, I told you a couple of nights ago, it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't always have to be cute. If you follow the activation hour coaching, I'm not there are times when I just go live when it hits me and I just got to get something out, and I might look crazy, but sometimes you want to have a polished look. Okay, so having systems like Ecamm, there are other ones like Be Live, which is another really great website. You can pick any one of them, and quite honestly, even if you just want to use the app on your phone and press that button and hit go live, but have some mechanism to tell your story. One of my other favorite methods of telling stories is understanding that people take in information in multiple ways. Okay? So you have to be consistent giving people the message and how they receive it. People consume information and process information in different ways. That means that you have to find the way that works for your audience. Some people are audible. They need to hear your story. Those are the people that listen to your podcast. Those are the people that need to hear it on the radio. You know, folks that like listen to NPR and catch their news that way. They don't really look at the news on the TV. They might catch it in the car on the way to work or something. So you need to first understand your audience and how they're consuming the information. So you want a system that helps you monitor how people take in information. So there are multiple ways for my audible people podcasting. So I have a podcast, and I'm just typing this in the comments here so you have it. So podcasting is for audible learners. So you want to have some mechanism if that is how your people truly learn and take in information. Then you also have visual people. They're visual learners, such as this video. That's another other reason why it was important to me to be consistent about these videos, because I said, hey, yeah, I could have just released a book and put the book out there, but the book would only go so far and reach the people who like to read. The book had a limited lifespan and would only reach people who like to read. However, now doing this video presentation to partner with the book now equally reaches people who not only read, but they're visual and like to watch. So now you get to watch and learn and kind of have a challenge and companion process or companion videos to what you're doing. So doing the your lives, recording them, save the live recording, repurpose that recording. You can go back to it. It's also great. Like, I look back at some of my recordings from 5-6 years ago, and I'm like, wow, look how far the technology has come. Look how far. And then self-evolution. You can record your story to see, wow, look how much I've grown. Look how much I've changed and personally developed. Anybody else ever do that? Facebook is good at reminding you of your stories. They will put that memory up there and say, hey, here's a video you recorded a year ago. So imagine a year from now, that live story, that message you put out there will be a memory that lasts out there on the internet. You can go back and say, wow, this is where I was in my life then, and look at where I am now. One of my stories, if you've been following my journey, is I was not in this place a year ago. A year ago, I was broke and broken. I was frustrated. I was a burnout entrepreneur who just wasn't getting anywhere in my business. I was frustrated. I didn't have the right systems in place to be effective and scalable. I was literally at a place of losing my home, losing assets, and I was just frustrated and ready to throw in the towel. And it wasn't until I made some decisions to go back to what I know. I had to get clear about my message. I had to get clear. I had to, one, be confident again in who I am and know that the failure actually set me up for something greater. I also had to do some practical things, such as work at my craft, such as go back to work, such as saving. And I got passionate about financial freedom. And I also got passionate about foundational things and operational things in business. So to see where I am now, it's connected to the story I lived a year ago. It's like Danielle said, your voice matters because the story you tell today, it came from my past. It came from your past. So having systems can also allow you to look back and see the progression of you and your story, okay? And then also scheduling. If you've this night 4, and so you've noticed that I use different scheduling tools and things to help me be consistent at this. And so and I'm going to put schedule the release of your story. And that's so important, because you want to catch people when they're listening. Like, I'm learning that there are optimal times of day when I can catch you all when you're available to hear the story. I'm also learning that scheduling keeps me consistent. Scheduling keeps me consistent. There are alarms on my phone. I pre-schedule the live video so that I know, hey, Melissa, it's time to sit at your computer, get ready, get focused, get locked in so that you can be present for the people. So I want you, here's the challenge for tonight. Y'all ready? All right, it's night 4. We got to end on a big note. We only have one more night after this. What processes in your business are lacking a system? What processes and things could you put in place to help you tell your story? Is it your website that needs a refresh to have a paragraph or a video? Imagine the power of video when someone comes to your website and they hear your message and your story and they're like, wow, who is this person? I have to work with them now because their story speaks to me. All right. Is it, again, using live video to now add personality? Remember, night 2 said humanize. Video and using your story through video can humanize you and your brand. Okay, you're putting a face and an image and a person attached to the product and service. We're in a day and time now where people demand to know, well, who's the leadership? Who's the owner? What do they stand for? What are their principles and their values? What causes are important to them? So if you don't humanize, you're missing an opportunity to connect to people in a very real way. Okay, so identify the systems you use for every contact you have with customers. Okay. Danielle said YouTube. YouTube is phenomenal. Like I said, I use both in my streaming system, Ecamm. I can do a simultaneous like casting and do everything at once, which I love because sometimes it's kind of painful to repost it. But find out what system works best for you. And like I said, I will post a link for Ecamm. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and drop that for you now because I want you guys to get these tools so you finish the challenge strong. I want you to finish strong and actually get everything you need from this opportunity. So Ecamm was referred to me by a very good friend and coach who's just simply phenomenal and full of resources. You got to start telling your story because that's going to connect you to people. I just dropped the link to Ecamm that I use. You can get a free trial. Phenomenal tool. But you want to have some tools in place to tell your story. So again, the assignment for tonight, make a list. What processes in your business lack a system? If you're lacking a system, then your story will have limited reach. If you're lacking a system, see, when people hear a story, now they're ready to work with you, but you don't have a system to put them into. When people hear your story, they will want to work with you, but you need a system to put them into. You got it? In business, we call it a CRM, a customer relationship management tool, a system, some type of way that they can continue being in connection with you. That's also going to help when you put them in that system. You're going to nurture them with more stories and more information and more knowledge through what? Stories. And at every level of nurturing that lead, that relationship, there's a new story. And now you also start telling the stories of others. You give testimonials, which are stories. You got it? That's why going live is so powerful. This is also a chance for you to capture video. Imagine the power of a testimonial video of people who've worked with you. Imagine how powerful is that to have not just the words, but the video, the imagery, the voice of someone who's passionate about their relationship with you. It's nothing more powerful. That's a high compliment. So again, tonight's assignment, this again, if you missed the replay, I want you guys to just quickly go and sign up for my email list because I'm sending these out. Like I said, you can either subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on your notifications, okay? Or B, get on my email list. You can go to the activationhour.com and stay connected because this is going to continue. I know tomorrow's the last night and I'm sad about that, but this information, I'm telling you, I've worked this system, these 5 things, and I'll tell you the 5th one tomorrow. I'm not going to give it away yet, but these 5 things have allowed me strength and confidence and consistency in showing up and telling my story. And I gotta be honest, I have never gone live 5 nights in a row. 5 nights in a row. That's a lot for me. Okay, I'm ready to go. But I'm doing this because I saw so many of you struggle with literally fear, paralyzing fear of going live. Like, I know people who are amazing businessmen and women, amazing, phenomenal people with great ideas. I know speakers who can captivate a room, but if you put a camera in their faces, oh boy, they shut down. So day number 4, systems and consistency. Make your list, identify the areas. I've dropped some tools for you here. I was going to drop my email list for you as well. But again, I want to make sure you guys stay connected with me. Make sure you follow my page, the Activation Hour Coaching and Consulting. Also, Alana said, that's me. But you're doing such a great job. I see you, girl. I see you out there doing your videos and you're doing all the right things. So I'm so super proud of you. So I want to drop just my subscription for you guys to join my email list. I'll put that in the comments after. Any questions, any comments, any questions? Y'all are amazing. I'm so glad. I'm so thankful that y'all hung out with me all this time. I mean, y'all are some real ones, man. You've stayed the course. And so we got one more night left. One more night. Systems and consistency. Thank you for joining me. Tune in tomorrow night. I will be back tomorrow night to wrap up our Go Live Activate Your Voice Challenge, 5-day challenge. See you later, family. Bye.